Meanwhile, we're looking at chorus to change names of historical sites growing in the national capital. Right-wing Hindu groups are now staging a protest near Qutub Minar. They were heard chanting Jai Shri Ram, put forth demands to rename the Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stambh. BJP Delhi chief Adesh Gupta has now written a letter to the NDMC chairman to rename several historical sites and roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are on names of Muslim rulers. Time and again, Saffron Army has demanded to change the name of these sites given by Mughals. Let's take a listen. Reactions coming in on that.
इसके बाद इनकी वो चली है मस्जिद मंदिर तोड़ के हमारे सनातन धर्म की हर एक चीज को इन्होंने तोड़ा है, हर एक चीज पे कब्जा किया है। तो वह कब्जा अब जो है हम नहीं बर्दाश्त करेंगे, हर वो कब्जा वापस लेंगे और अपनी चीज की डिमांड कर रहे हैं। हम उसकी डिमांड नहीं कर रहे, ये तो हमारा धरोहर था, हम धरोहर को वापस मांग रहे हैं। तो उसमें कोई नई बात नहीं होनी चाहिए और कोई हम उनसे कोई छीन नहीं रहे हैं। हमारी चीज है, हमारा नाम टैग वहाँ से हटा के मुगलों ने अपना नेम टैग लगाया है, तो वो गलत किया है। हम पुनः अपना विष्णु स्तंभ को पुनः जीव उद्धार करके और ये जो है आप जिसका नाम ले रहे हैं वो नाम।
Well, there you have it. The Saffron Brigade demanding that many of the roads, the prime locations in Delhi, which are named after Mughal rulers, be changed to freedom fighters locally. In fact, they've been demanding this for quite a while, and this time the BJP team under Adesh Gupta, who's the BJP chief of Delhi, have landed up near Qutub and have been protesting, asking for a name change with immediate effect. The right-wing group now protesting near Qutub Minar, demanding that names of many of the roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are named after Muslim rulers, now be changed with immediate effect. The Saffron Brigade demanding a name change given to these sites by the Mughals. Now, we're looking at a protest that's erupted right in front of Qutub Minar, where many of them under Adesh Gupta, who's the BJP chief in Delhi, have been camping right outside Qutub Minar, protesting with saffron flags, demanding for a name change on many key prime areas of Delhi which are named after Mughal rulers. This chorus only growing to name change of historical sites in the national capital. Right-wing Hindu groups now staging a protest right outside Qutub Minar. They were heard chanting Jai Shri Ram slogans, put forth a demand to rename Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stambh. Adesh Gupta has written a letter to NDMC chairman to rename several historical sites and roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are all named after Mughal rulers. In fact, time and again, Saffron Army has now demanded to change the name given to these sites by Mughal kings at one point. Centuries-old names of these historical sites, the BJP, of course, led right-wing groups, many of them asking for a name change with immediate effect. And you see visuals coming in from right outside Qutub Minar, where a bunch of Saffron Brigade, in fact, a bunch of protesters from, they've been led by the BJP chief, Adesh Gupta. Many of the Saffron groups come together, right-wing groups who are sitting there camping right outside Qutub Minar, asking for a name change. In fact, not asking, protesting. This is a demand put forth by the Saffron Brigade for quite a while now, and it seems like now it's turned into a sit-down protest right outside Qutub Minar, a historical monumental site. Qutub Minar, which is located in mostly the heart of Delhi. Right now, the Saffron Brigade protesting right outside the historical site, asking for an immediate name change, not just of Qutub Minar, but also of several other historical sites and roads, particularly Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are all names of Muslim rulers. The Saffron Brigade, time and again, demanding for a name change given by the Mughals centuries ago.
सभी से विद्वत समाज, संत समाज और जितने मठाधीश हैं, सबकी तरफ से, इन भारतवासियों की तरफ से यही मांग करते हैं कि जो सनातन की परंपरा है, जो सनातनी था, जो ये भारत जिसका प्रमाण इतिहास के पन्नों में आज भी दर्ज है, तो ये अखंड भारत और साथ साथ हिंदू राष्ट्र की जो मांग थी, उसके लिए आज हम यहाँ पर आए हैं। और साथ के साथ जो ये आप पीछे देख रहे हैं, जो कुतुब मीनार को जो बोलते हैं, ये विष्णु मीनार के नाम से, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से, क्योंकि यहाँ पर जितने भी देवी देवताओं की मूर्तियां मिली, तो कहीं ना कहीं उस सनातन की जो वो थी वो सबको तोड़ मोड़ के कहीं ना कहीं मैनिपुलेट करा गया है। ये साक्ष्य राम मंदिर पे भी मिला, ये साक्ष्य बनारस में भी मिला, ये साक्ष्य जितने भी पुरानी इमारतें हैं उनको साथ छेड़छाड़ करके मुगल कालीन जो भी शासक रहे उन्होंने जो है सनातन की जो भी इमारतें थी, जो भी हमारे मंदिर थे, जो भी हमारे मठ थे, सबको बदला गया। तो अब ये बीड़ा उठाया है सभी संत समाज ने, विद्युत समाज ने कि हम अपनी मांग को मंगवा कर रहेंगे, चाहे कोर्ट में विचाराधीन केस हो। हम किसी भी व्यक्ति विशेष को हानि नहीं पहुंचाना चाहते, उनके आस्थाओं के साथ खेलना नहीं चाहते या हम किसी को कोई दुख हो, मगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि जो मेरा प्यारा देश, जो मेरा सनातन की परंपराएं थी वो दोबारा से लौटे, वो खुशहाली दोबारा से लौटे। तो इसी को लेकर हमने ये बीड़ा उठाया है।
All right, there you have it. You have now a big bunch of saffron supporters there. All of them protesting right outside the Qutub Minar. Most of them are being detained. The police have just arrived trying to maintain and calm the situation. Many of those protesters who have been led by the BJP chief, Adesh Gupta, they're now being detained as the cops arrive right outside Qutub Minar, detaining many of those who are in sit-down protest, demanding for a name change on all those areas that have names of Mughal rulers that were given centuries ago. Here you have live visuals coming in right from the heart of Delhi, Qutub Minar. Right outside you have saffron-clad men who have been protesting vehemently, asking for a name change. They want Qutub Minar to be changed, the name of Qutub Minar to be changed to Vishnu Stambh. BJP Delhi Chief Adesh Gupta has also shot off a letter to the MDMC chairperson to rename several historical sites including Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane and Tughlaq Lane. Let's take a listen. Adesh Gupta, BJP Chief of Delhi, who is leading this protest of the Saffron Brigade, speaking.
आज हमने जो पत्र लिखा है उसमें हमने मांग की कि औरंगजेब रोड, जिसका नाम पहले से ही डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम रोड रख दिया गया है, औरंगजेब लेन जो बची हुई है उसका नाम डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम लेन होना चाहिए। जो अकबर रोड है वो महाराणा प्रताप जी के नाम होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अकबर हमारे देश के लिए कभी आइडियल नहीं हो सकते। हमारे देश की जनरेशन के लिए जो आदर्श है वो महाराणा प्रताप है। ऐसे ही हमने हुमायूं रोड का नाम और तुगलक रोड का नाम बदलकर गुरु गोविंद सिंह रोड, हुमायूं रोड का नाम बदलकर महर्षि वाल्मीकि रोड और खुदीराम बोस रोड बदलकर, ऐसे करके हमने एक महर्षि वाल्मीकि, खुदीराम बोस और जिन्होंने हमारे जो अभी जनरल हुए बिपिन रावत, उनके नाम पर भी एक सड़क का नाम इस लुटियन जोन के अंदर रखा जाए, ताकि आने वाली पीढ़ियां और ये जनरेशन भारत को भारत के वीरों से जाने, ना कि विदेशी आक्रांताओं से जाने।
All right, let me quickly cut across to Sangeet Kumar Ragi, RSS ideologue, joining us on the phone line. Sangeet ji, here we're looking at the Saffron Brigade protesting right outside Qutub Minar in the heart of Delhi, many of them being detained, demanding that those key areas, prime locations, which have names of Mughal rulers given centuries ago, be changed with immediate effect. What is your grouse?
Look, we call it iconography of a nation. The iconography of a nation cannot be symbolized with the foreigners and invaders. Here, in case of Akbar Road, Aurangzeb Road, this is where if you look at the Indian historiography, people always talk about Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Look at the kind of historiography he has escaped in his last speech in the Constituent Assembly. So these are in the categories of invaders. They are not the ones who motivate the younger generation. Number one. Number two, if you go to Qutub Minar, you will be finding that the demolished and disfigured images of gods and goddesses are there all around. So it is very clear that it was a temple where this structure has been created. The temple was destroyed. The destruction was done by the invaders. They were the Islamic iconoclasts, and therefore these historical legacies must be reclaimed. They must be restored to their Hindu primacy. And that is why I stand in support of all these movements, whether it is reclamation of Baba Vishwanath premises, or Sri Krishna premises, or the Vishnu Stambh, which people call it Qutub Minar, but I call it Vishnu Stambh, and so many other places of the country where the invaders had destroyed wherever they went to.
Right, here, while you have naysayers saying that this is an attempt to twist history, if there was, this is an archaeological site, this Qutub Minar has been standing for centuries. It was, in fact, built by Qutb al-Din Aybak. And if this is a piece of history right in the middle of the national capital, should it be touched?
It may be a legacy for those who trace their history and ancestry to the invaders. But the Hindus as such, these structures cannot be. And even if during the last 70 years, under the tutelage of when the Congress party was in power, they never tried to reclaim the lost heritage of this country, this civilizational land. So the Muslim community and the radicals within the Muslim community have been, at ease that the Hindus will not be fighting for such issues. But now I think that the Hindus are awakened to their legacy, Hindus are awakened to their civilizational identity, cultural identity, and doesn't matter who is in power, even if the BJP is not or somebody else is in power. The Hindu community will not tolerate any such kind of thing.
No, but this is an attempt that the Saffron Brigade, who is sitting right outside Qutub Minar, are making to change the name of Qutub Minar, which is an archaeological site. Yes, it was built by the Mughal rulers, and it falls right in the heart of Delhi, but it's a piece of history. Not too sure if anyone attaches legacy to it, but it's a piece of history that stands in the national capital. Should it be touched? Should history be rewritten?
Not a piece of history. If it is, then it is a piece of insult to the Hindu community, because the Hindus' temples were destroyed by the invaders.
You're saying that Qutub Minar stands on a Hindu temple site?
Yes, 100%, 200%. Even a blind would go and come to know that this is what it stands for. It is only the liberal mind of the Hindu society which is tolerating the structure. It would have been, had it been in Afghanistan or elsewhere, it would have been demolished long back.
Right. Mr. Sangeet Kumar, appreciate your time. I'm going to quickly cut across to Ratan Sharda, who is an RSS ideologue again, joining us on the phone line. Mr. Ratan, here is a protest by the Saffron Brigade, heavy police deployment right outside Qutub Minar, much commotion there, while protesters who have been led by BJP's Adesh Gupta, demanding for several key areas within the central business district, quite literally of the national capital, like Akbar Road, Tughlaq Road, and most importantly, Qutub Minar's name to be changed. Your take on that?
First of all, Qutb-ud-Din Aybak was not Mughal. I think you said it was a Mughal monument. He was not a Mughal. Point two, that we have been fed myths as history for 70 years, and real history has been continuously called fables and myths. What stops us from doing a thorough archaeological research on all the sites which have a huge presence of Hindu symbols, Hindu iconography? Just a few days back, you saw the pictures in Qutub Minar of Ganpati being upside down in a caged place. So definitely, and the mosque there is made of 27 broken Jain Hindu temples. It was on record. These are all Islamic evidence. And which country in the world celebrates invaders? Tell me. Which country, self-respecting country across the world celebrates invaders? The question of renaming a few roads or, calling it Vijay Stambh can be handled. Vijay Stambh can be handled only if evidence has been properly scientifically checked. But we refuse to do it. Our so-called great historians, great archaeology people refuse to have fresh archaeological evidence. They refuse to use latest technology and read the other parts of history, even the Islamic evidence, to see what has been actually originally Hindu place and what has been converted to Muslim. That's a wounded civilization. Millions have been killed. Thousands of temples were destroyed. Millions were raped and converted, but we don't even want to talk about that. We want to celebrate people who did it. That is the tragedy of this India. By naming a few roads doesn't solve the problem.
By allowing Qutub Minar to be the name to be retained, you believe that this is a celebration of...
I have not asked to be renamed. I have said go through the evidence. Why are we reluctant to face the evidence? Why do you want to treat Hindu
This is the Saffron Brigade demanding for a name change. That's the question here. They're demanding for Vishnu, the Qutub Minar to be renamed to Vishnu Stambh. Would you back that?
I say you dismiss that demand, but allow evidence search. No. Go through the evidence, historical evidence, then you decide what to do. But you don't even want to touch that. You simply call these people as fringe elements. You call these people in a way, stupid people by saying that what they are asking for is stupidity or it doesn't require any serious attention. My issue is much bigger. I am saying you dismiss them. But why the historians are afraid of facing the evidence created by Islamic historians themselves?
Have you made an appeal for this? Has there been a long-standing appeal to this?
I say why not have a proper, research, proper evidence sifting, which is available today. But our great historians, master historians, secular Sarkari historians refuse to do it. They are afraid of the truth. But unless you face the bitter truth, you cannot have reconciliation, you cannot have a happy nation, you cannot have a happy society. You cannot force your views down the throat that even the people who actually murdered you, killed you, raped you, actually are benefactors. Why this myth is being continuously fed to us? That is the question. Why are we celebrating invaders, colonizers? We removed British statues. Why can't we remove the people who actually were much more cruel to Indians than others? That is the question you should ask.
Well, Mr. Sharda, you have many areas that have changed names in the recent past under the BJP government. Is there a formal appeal for a demand like this? Qutub Minar is a historical site that falls under archaeological department. There is a legal process to it. Instead of camping right outside and protesting vehemently with police deployment creating chaos, is there a formal appeal that the groups have made to the government?
Should be, if I have a voice, I will make a formal appeal to go through the historical evidence, check out every kind of archaeological possibility of what this place exactly is. There are telltale signs on the Qutub Minar that these are superimposed. It has been accepted by the Mughal writers themselves. But we don't want to see it. We want to keep our eyes closed. We want to celebrate our invaders. We want to celebrate our rapists. And then we say we should be happy. Ganga, Jamuna, Tehzeeb. Ganga, Jamuna are both Hindu rivers. Both come together, become Ganga. But we want to keep Ganga, Jamuna separate. That is the tragedy. We live on myths. We want to put band-aid where there are deep wounds. Why can't we Truth and Reconciliation Commission and solve these issues once for all?
One would look at it that this was part of history. History has already been written. One can't change what has happened. At a point like this, trying to reclaim what happened in the past, is this not an attempt to completely twist history around and make it the way you want to?
Every nation goes for truth and reconciliation. Tell me one world nation in the world where it has not been done. We know the extent of twisting the fact when Turkey renamed the museum as Hagia Sophia Mosque, did anybody raise a voice? When US people, the Europeans are ready to reconcile and face the truth that they have done atrocious behavior with blacks and Native Americans, why can't we? Unless we accept that mistakes of the history, how do we reconcile? That is my question. This is just a small matter. I am not saying
is there an attempt to retain any part of history instead of a complete overhaul? Is there an attempt to retain any part of history instead of a complete overhaul? You're saying that two communities must walk together. In that case, from what we see here, they want the demand is for a complete name change, complete destruction of some of the mosques that you also mentioned, because it falls on Hindu temples. So you want there to be a complete overhaul?
You are making again a mistake. This is not a question of two communities. Two Indian Muslims belong to Arab
since you mentioned
to Mughal
Ganga, Jamuna, Tehzeeb, that's where I come from.
Who has invented this term? Who has invented the term? Is the Indian Muslim in any way connected to Mughals or Turks or Mongols? In how much it is connected? Tell me that. So why do we create any historical issue into Hindu-Muslim issue? That is my question. And then you try to call it Ganga, Jamuna, Tehzeeb in what name?
And there's also mosques there that stands close.
Sufferers. See, Indian Muslims also sufferers for the same atrocity. They converted, others didn't convert. But that doesn't mean that they belong to a Mongol or Turk race. By saying so, we are reducing their importance in the history of India.
But there are mosques there. That is certainly sentimental to the Muslims.
So that mosque was created by destroying 27 temples. Once that is accepted, and those evidences are shown, as I said, Ganpati is lying upside down in a cage. How do I feel when I go to Qutub Minar, madam? How do I feel? What is the iron pillar? Why we refuse to accept that this iron pillar, the rustless iron...
Right, Mr. Shada, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I'm going to quickly cut across to Aishwarya, who's right there at the site where we see much chaos and many of them being detained from that protest site. Let's take a look.
One more monument and one more demand to rename it. Qutub Minar should now be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. This is what Hindu right-wing organizations are now demanding. We'll ask them what is it that they want from the government and why do they want the renaming of the iconic Qutub Minar. आपकी जो मांग है वो ये है
कि विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए पुनः, क्योंकि अगर पुनः घोषित नहीं करेंगे तो हम लोग इसी तरह आगे आके आंदोलन करते रहेंगे, हनुमान चालीसा की बात चलती रहेगी।
आप क्या प्रधानमंत्री को भी चिट्ठी लिखेंगे?
बिल्कुल, प्रधानमंत्री के पास भी विज्ञप्ति लेके जा रहे हैं हम और उनको आज सौंपेंगे।
So this is what these people are saying. They want Qutub Minar to be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. The protest that you see behind me, the saffron flags that you are seeing being raised very close to the Qutub Minar, just 500 meters from the iconic monument. Chants are being raised to rename Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stambh. Banners have been put up.
यूनाइटेड हिंदू फ्रंट दिल्ली का अध्यक्ष, हमारी ये मांग है जो अंदर विष्णु स्तंभ है उसको विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए। उसके अंदर जो निजी मूर्तियां दबी हुई हैं उन मूर्तियों को निकाला जाए। जो अंदर खंडित मूर्तियां हैं उन मूर्तियों को भी विधिवत तरीके से हिंदू मूर्तियों को स्थापित किया जाए। जो बाहर बोर्ड लगा हुआ है साई जैन मंदिरों को तोड़कर कुतुब मीनार को बनाया, ये कुतुब मीनार नहीं है। इतिहास में बच्चों को गलत पढ़ाया जा रहा है। ये विक्रमादित्य ने इसका निर्माण किया था, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से इसकी घोषणा की जाए। और दूसरी बात,
what it should be called as is Vishnu Stambh. In fact, what these the protesters at the moment are claiming is that there are many idols, many Hindu idols inside Qutub Minar. Everything should be brought out and the name should be changed to Vishnu Stambh. With camera person Kripal Singh, this is Aishwarya Paliwal reporting for India Today.
All right, that was Aishwarya Paliwal. Remember, we're looking at much commotion right outside Qutub Minar. The protests there growing over a name change, considering allegations that Qutub Minar was built on a temple site and there are several idols that still reside beneath all that construction of Qutub Minar, and therefore a protest has been launched by the Saffron Brigade led by Adesh Gupta, BJP chief of Delhi.